Okay, so let's start our class. So today we are going to finalize this cuisine. We would finalize what we started last week, and we would also look at another way in which they could set the unseen for your exams. So we have read through this last week, which of course it will be given to you again in your exam. And don't forget that when it comes to case study, you are going to be getting your 100 marks from your ability to understand both this preseen and the unseen, even though the preseen would not be entirely very useful for you. When I say very useful, the solution ultimately would be based on the unseen. What you're going to, the direction of your solution will be directed by the unseen. So this preseen was given to us to have an understanding of the industry and also for us to be able to be ready for the direction of the unseen, which we have been able to do. So you need to understand and be able to use the information they will provide to you. You need to be able to understand the problem and provide a solution to them. And in between, your judgment is required. Your judgment is extremely required. And in your analysis and in a separate section, you should be able to make subtle conclusions and make recommendations to the management of your client. And of course, you would be able to do this only if you are skillful. You have understanding of financial statement analysis, financial data analysis, and strategic analysis. And you would understand that we would usually start with appendices because that's where you're going to carry out numerical calculations that will support your analysis and findings. Ultimately, there is a portion of the report that you'll be required to write, which is an executive summary that carries 20% of the mark, because your ability to be able to write what you're expected to do, your findings, your conclusions, your recommendations in like 5 paragraphs is a whole lot. And the examiner will reward you for that with 10 marks. And there is a portion also relating to ethics that you should be able to identify ethical issues within the question and speak to it. That is also 10 marks for the exam. So these are critical areas that would ensure that you take something home and at least you're able to do minimum of 60 in the exam. Now, a quick recap of what we read last week. Okay, please, you can speak in between and ask any clarification you wish. Okay, Usman, I can see your hand. Please go ahead.
Hello, sir. Good morning, sir. Thank you for your time today, sir. Sir, there was something you had said in our past meeting that I want you to re-emphasize so that we can get it very well. Previous tutors told us that when we want to write this case study report, if we anticipate that we require about 20 or 25 pages for the report, that we should count those pages and leave those extra pages to go and start our appendix, maybe at page 20 of our answer sheet. But in our last meeting, you said that may not be necessary. That as soon as we get our answer sheet, we should start our appendix from page 1 of the answer sheet. I wanted you to re-emphasize it so that we'll hear you very well, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Osman. So let me re-emphasize it again. Please don't count the number of pages that you anticipate to write a report. Don't count. Please don't do that. Don't do that. Start your appendices first. Start your numerical workings first, right? Start it first. Of course, that's after you must have summarized the unseen, what you're expected to do and all that. The next thing you should do is your append. Don't start leaving space. And the reason is this, we know, we know that you cannot typically write a professional report in the exam that would align with the way we would do it in practice. We know. That is why what I'm showing in front of you is what the examiner would mark you for. This is it. This is the 100%. Your ability to use information, your ability to understand the problem, your ability to apply judgments, conclusions. You see, in the last report I gave you, even in my analysis, I was making some conclusions like that relates to that particular analysis. I was bringing in some strategic implications. I'm just picking marks. I'm just picking marks. So nobody is now going to be looking for that orderly presentation of a professional report in your exam. However, what we can predict is, so let's get that very clear. Let's get that very clear. Present your appendices first in the exam. Because naturally, that's the natural flow. After your appendices, immediately you finish your appendices, the next thing that you can do is your analysis and findings. That is when you start doing your evaluation. That's when you start doing your analysis. That's when you start doing your whatever it is that needs to be done. Now, what I might recommend is this, which is not necessary, just to give you some level of comfort, is that we know that executive summary will likely not pass a page. We know that introduction will likely not pass a page, right? Just to give you a level of comfort. Then after your appendix, then it makes sense. You can leave a page if that would make you comfortable, but it doesn't matter. If that will make you comfortable, you can leave a page for executive summary. You can leave a page for introduction. Then go and do your analysis and findings, which we're also going to revise today. After your analysis and findings, the next thing is recommendations and conclusion. Though before recommendation and conclusion, there are some other things like ethics that you need to speak about, the governance of the company and all of that, that you might need depending on the unseen given to you. Then you naturally, after all that, you move to recommendation and conclusion, which actually ends the report. Then after your recommendation and conclusion, then you can go and write your executive summary and also write your introduction to your report. You really write introduction last, or yeah, either of them, or executive summary, you'd write it last, because at that point you have all the information at hand for you to write your report. So that's how it should be done in the exam. Don't start counting spaces. If I was in there, because what you need to do is just make sure you're labeling your heading very well. Make sure you're labeling your heading very well. Or alternative, just to give you comfort again, because the examiner gives you is a 3 hours exam. They give you some hours to plan, which is 1 hour. They give you another 1 hour to read the unseen. Then you have 2 hours to start writing all your reports, right? So within that 1 hour when they asked you to read, as soon as you read, you summarize, then you can list the order of a professional report for the examiner from the cover page. You just list it from the cover page to executive summary to introduction, analysis and findings, to your ethics, then your recommendation and conclusion. You can list it. Then you can put a note there that, however, in order for logical flow of thoughts and application of judgments, that your solution is presented in this order. First, appendices, then analysis and findings, then, and you will list the order that I've taught you for the examiner. Then you also go ahead that each is well labeled, just so that you are starting each of these headings in a separate sheet, in a separate page in the exam, like that. But don't start counting pages and leaving them. Okay, I hope that is now very clear. Now, we read this, we took our time to read all this last week, so we're not going to start reading it again. So we read about who you are, what you're supposed to be doing. You're going to be doing financial analysis, financial statement analysis, assessment of proposal, evaluating forecasts, tax planning, and writing reports. So that's what you're going to be doing. They also gave us insight into the Nigerian economy and the service sector. We're told that the service sector contributes 50% to the Nigerian's GDP, and the subsector we are focusing on, the focused on is the motor repairs service sector, services subsector. And we're told that this industry is majorly dominated by informal sector, though there are few formal people in that industry. But those that are formal are branded service centers, and they are very small. It's a growing segment. Majorly, the training that they get also informal through apprenticeship and all that. And infrastructure is a major challenge. Getting spare parts is also highly import dependent and really influenced by government policies and also logistics as well. And this subsector, motor repair subsector, we have been told that it's greatly helping in employment generation, entrepreneurship, and a lot of people has actually gained from it by establishing complementary services from this repair subsector, like car wash, sales of spare parts, accessory installation, and all of that. I mean, you need to get to Alaba or Olu, then you understand how this subsector has really been very successful. Of course, it's faced with challenges from infrastructure constraints to regulatory and policy constraints to access to finance to technical skill gap, and again, supply chain, because spare part that they use to repair your vehicles are imported. As a result of that, you would find a lot of counterfeit or substandard spare parts, which will eventually undermine the service quality. And also, government is really making a lot of trade policies affecting importation of those genuine spare parts, and is affecting supply chain. All the information given to us. And also, digitization is also shaping this ecosystem, though it's still not fully adopted. So it's a challenge in this subsector. And there are opportunities for growth and transformation, from vocational training to getting access to finance, infrastructure upgrades, regulatory reform, digitalization, quality assurance, local production capacity. So these are areas that, when improved, is going to improve this subsector. These are opportunities for growth. Now, what can the government do? They can formulate policies to improve this subsector. They can engage in PPP, public-private partnership initiatives. They can also encourage industry association so that solutions can start within the subsector itself and trickle it up to the government. Also, they further did a further analysis of the industry. Before then, they looked at the motor vehicle sales and distributions in Nigeria, which is also a subsector in the automobile industry, sales and distribution. And in this industry, we understood that because of Nigerian growing population and middle class in the country, it's making this industry to boom. And in terms of the units of cars that have been sold, they have sold 280,000 units of cars were sold in 2022. And is increasing. And is increasing because as at 2025, it's expected to reach 320,000 units in sales. So it's a growing subsector. And in this sales and distribution subsector, used vehicles is the dominant segment. Then there is new vehicles and local assembly. Local assembly has limited production capacity and due to high input costs, and also, infrastructural deficit and all of that. So in the sales and distribution space, the way they distribute is through authorized dealership, through independent dealers, and through online platforms. So, but the people that dominate is the independent dealers. They are the one that deals with used vehicle, that which is the dominant segment in the sales and distribution of motor vehicles in Nigeria. So our population in Nigeria is well over 237 million, with a rapidly growing urban middle class. And that is what is driving this sales and distribution market. Every family needs a car, both for personal and for commercials. So the demand is high. And because the public transportation in the country is inadequate, and though Lagos State and Abuja are investing heavily in road infrastructure, and this has even encouraged personal ownership of cars. The government is also encouraging local assembly through their Nigerian Automotive Industry Development Plan, which is also helping. And there's increasingly access to finance. Of course, importation tariffs, high exchange rates, weak manufacturing base, smuggling, poor infrastructure still remains a challenge. Of course, if they can adopt digital transformation where you can easily buy your car online, or where they can encourage local assembly and value addition, or where there could be electric and alternative fuel vehicles, then it would really ease this subsector and ability of people to buy cars. Competition is very, very stiff in these markets because there are a lot of people that operate in these markets. And the company we are considering in this case study, which is Folak Motors, is he actually operates in this subsector. He sells both new and used cars. So again, we're given further details around motor repairs, service centers, and spare parts sales in Nigeria. And they reiterated what we have looked at, what they have mentioned earlier on in the case study. And we're given the unaudited account of Folak Motors. And by looking at his unaudited account to a large extent, in terms of revenue, he's not doing bad because his revenue is growing. In terms of profitability, not bad because from these underlying figures, ignoring the mistakes that was here, is also growing. And we're also given the statement of financial position of the two entities for its 2 years. And I already did a summary, which is what I've actually done now for you of this case. So I did it exhibit by exhibit, talking about the Nigerian economy, the challenges, the opportunities, the motor vehicle sales and distribution sectors, everything that is in that case study. We already looked at it. And on the basis of what we read in the pre-scene, we looked at, okay, what should Folak be looking at? We said that he might be considering some strategic moves, right? Like he might want to expand beyond just selling into repairs, servicing, and spare parts, aligning with industry or even local assembly self. He might want to go into local assembly like that. You might want to leverage digitalization for its marketing and customer engagement. You might want to use social media. You might want to adopt ARM. You might want to use all these softwares to facilitate his operations. And you might look for ways to also manage exchange rate risk and financing costs, and also strengthen his governance and ethics and explain partnership. But yeah, so from here, we could then come up with an unseen that we looked at last week. And I'm not saying that this is directly what the examiner will come up with in your exam, but it will be something close to that that will seriously guide you in how you go ahead to answer it. So when you get into the exam, you can scan through the pre-scene just to be sure that there won't be any change. It's the same thing that you have here that you are going to have there. So carefully read the unseen. Carefully read the unseen because you have 1 hour. Plan it very well. So you can read it even 2 times before you do a summary. That's the first thing you need to do in the exam that day. You can read it twice. If you read it first, you still don't get, because you have 1 hour for reading, planning. Then you could read it like twice, then you sit down and jot all your notes. Okay. Yeah, Dapo, I can see your hand. Please ask your question.
You said we have 1 hour. So is it that we cannot start the exam until that 1 hour reading time elapses? That's question one. And question two, I was reading the analysis you did for us in the last class, and you said that the report is an internal report written to my supervisor to be submitted to, I think, the board of Folak Motors. So I want to be sure, is this report an internal or external report? And if it's an external report, how do we write the cover page that is going to address it as external report?
Okay, so yes, we are a consultant. They have employed us as a consultant. And the way you would write your cover page normally is you will write it directly to the management of that company, right? You write it. So the issue around whether it's a memo or whether, so the way you should do it, right, is we are writing to our clients. So it will be from your company. You're writing it to the management of FOLAC. Then your subject will be what's the major issues, whether financial analysis and strategic analysis of acquisition of this and this, right? You just put that as the first page, and you put the date. So that would surface in the direction of what, because the way it is now, you are the consultant, right? You work with a firm, and FOLAC will come and meet you that, please help us write your reports. And the way you would do it is you will address it to the management of FOLAC. So don't stress yourself. It is an internal report in the sense that it's a confidential report that will be used within FOLAC Nigeria Limited. Or yeah. So, but since they have engaged us as a consultant, so is this different from whether you're writing letter to somebody that you want to publicly know? They have engaged you. It's like you are acting on their behalf. This is a professional report. So I don't think we should overburden that angle. When you get to the exam, you are writing to the management of FOLAC. Though you give it to your boss will review it and do all of that. So you're writing to the management of FOLAC. You are the one that prepared. You will see, I will show you, I've done a sample of how the cover page will look for this report in your exam. Like that. So that should not be a problem for you. So you asked one other one, I can't remember again. Dapper.
Yeah, like will they be allowed us to start even like before the 1 hour elapsed? Can we continue even after we have read the whole question
No, they won't.
before 1 hour?
No, they will tell you in the exam that this is reading time, don't write. Oh. Those examiners are going to be very clear with you there. So it's just for you to read and plan your answers. So, and it's not common to case study alone, even in your other papers. Now, they give you 15 minutes reading time. Just that because case study is more elaborate and needs some level of reasoning and judgment, that's why they give you 1 hour. That use that 1 hour to read and plan your answers. Okay, that's a good one. Any other one before I proceed? Oluchi, yeah?
Okay. Good morning, sir.
Morning.
So, since we are not allowed to write while we are reading, can't we jot down the things like points, or are we just underline it?
Yes, you underline it. And the reason I'm saying this is this, the examiner gives you 4 hours. They are giving us 4 hours in the exam. 1 hour says read and plan. Another 1 hour, that's where you're going to perform your calculations and financial analysis, which is why I was telling Usman that appendices comes first. Now, the examiner knows that also, right? If you check your question, right, the first page of the unseen will show you this breakdown that I'm saying. I'm not the one coming up with it. It will be there. So they will tell you reading and planning. So you can just be jotting on your question booklet that they gave you. Can be noting some things now. I don't want you to be in trouble because So that the guy will not say, we have not asked you to, and you should. But if you looked at it and you're allowed to jot, I mean, they would not allow you because some people might then go ahead and be. And I think that the way it works is this: they will give you the question first for 1 hour. They might not give you the answer booklet, except if you meet it on the table. But that's why they specifically make 1 day for case study. Then you're going to be faced with the question alone, read and plan. So, on your first reading, just focus on the reading at the first instance. Just try to focus on the reading alone. Just read. Then in your second reading, then you can then be making some underlining when you're going over it again. That's when, and the underlining you are doing is just the major thing you're looking for are data that you're going to use for your calculations, and also the strategic direction of this company, what they want to do. And in each exhibit, just get, okay, which direction are they going? Which direction are they going? After you have looked at the requirement of the question, then you can then be, because that's majorly what your report is going to be about. Then you read each exhibit in the unseen, be able to say, okay, this is what this exhibit is saying. These are the data I got from here. This is where this company is going. This is their strategic objectives, this is their strategic direction. Because that's what you want to advise them on. That's a problem they need solution to. And that's where you're going to focus all your energy on. So when you have done that, I expect that they will give you your solution. They will give you the answer booklet. You have another 1 hour to do your calculations and your analysis that you want to do. You have 1 hour to do that. So that's more than enough for you to compute all your ratios, for you to do all your data analysis. In this question, probably you might be doing contribution per limiting factor. You might be doing investment appraisal and all of that. You have all time to do that. Then you're thinking of, then you start your report. Your report, when they give it to you, you then move on to your analysis and your findings. That's where you start your analysis. All the calculations you have done, then you analyze, evaluate it as you're going to look at today. Okay, any other questions?
Yes, I have a question.
Okay, Jacob.
So in a case where you are limited by time, like you are trying to do your appendix and in the course of writing your analysis and findings, maybe you have maybe
I
one
have a
hour, 30
question.
minutes left.
I've raised up my hand.
You go on.
Okay, don't worry. You would ask a question after him. Yetunde, don't worry.
Okay.
Okay.
So, and
Yeah,
you know that
continue.
if you go on with that analysis and findings, you'll not be able to complete your executive summary and maybe your recommendation. Can you like stop that you know that okay, I can't finish this. Can you like stop at a time and go and write the next one so that you can just write small all of
Yes,
those
yes, you
content?
can. Yes, you can. And I hope that will not happen. I hope that will not happen. You have to finish your analysis and findings. It's so important. It's the heart of the report. You have to finish it. It's so important. And there is no way, it's not possible for you to write a good executive summary without your analysis, because you are basically dubbing from your analysis and findings to your executive summary. You are dubbing from it. It's not, you are not writing anything new. Yeah, though you are summarizing so that if somebody reads your executive summary, he knows, because that is when you're going to itemize what the guy that gave you the job, what he wants you to do, the analysis you have done, the recommendation, the conclusion you have made, and recommendation at an high level, your final recommendation, your final conclusion. The guy sees it at a glance. If it's sequential, it gives you your maximum mark that, okay, this makes sense. So, and there's no way you can do that if, because you will go and corroborate that with your analysis and findings. Then you will go and corroborate your analysis and findings in your appendices. Even your executive summary, it would also confirm it from your recommendations and conclusions. That, okay, because that's where you will see the detail, because the executive summary is what will point him to, okay, you said this is what you recommended. Okay, let's go to recommendation and conclusion to see the details. How did you flow to these recommendations? You say you did this analysis, performance, you did profitability analysis, you did investment analysis, you did this, and on the basis of this analysis, you would advise that you recommended that this that will show you your so that will point him. He goes there. He now goes to your analysis and find he's not finding it there. No, please, you need to. He has that 2 hours must be enough. He has to. If you have to limit your calculations, it's so easy to pass case study because ratio will be there, because you would be able to do a data analysis. You would be able to, because they will not restrict you. You will be able to do contribution. If you see, if they go the angle that this company is investing, you should be able to do MPV. If you do those two, which is why I say you can leave those strategic analysis to your analysis and findings. So I don't see a system where, so try and manage your analysis, be looking at your time. Don't spend more than 1 hour on your analysis and findings so that you have time for your executive summary, right? It's important, and also your introduction at the same time. Hope that answers your question, Jakob.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
Yeah. Yetunde.
Clarification on cover page, and when we round up the report, the signing on the cover page, there's going to be prepared by, is it by Bagudu or by Sylvester? I don't know if you understand what I'm saying.
Yes. So you can just put the name of the firm in bracket there.
Okay.
Yes.
Even after the conclusion, after the rounding up the report that I want to sign, it should be the name of the company.
Yes. So you can put your name underneath that. Underneath your, yeah.
That the
And you know
company
that
name.
yeah, and you know that this will be done in your introduction. But the reality is that we are not really concerned about that. Though whether you put in your name or the name of your firm doesn't really matter, really. Because I will show you a cover page that I've done.
Mm,
Keep it
all
simple
right.
like that. Don't overflog that. Even my introduction, because where you will sign is in your introduction. That's where you would put your name, sign, and do all of that. If you put it fine, if you forget that, those ones will not lose you any mark in the exam. Yeah, any other question?
Sir, according to you, you said we have 1 hour to read, then we
Yes.
can use our own time when they allow us to write. So I wanted to
Yes.
ask, in the process of like using your time after the 1 hour, can you like jot down personal notes? It does not cause any problems, Abi, if you write your own personal notes in the answer booklet, because there's no other booklet they will give it for your own rough jottings and all that.
So, um, that's if they give you the answer booklet yet, because
Mm,
they would give you the unseen first.
yes.
They will give you the unseen first. So, if you want to write it on your question booklet, that's fine.
Okay.
But that 1 hour is strictly for you to read and plan in your mind. As soon as they then give you your answer booklet, the expect you to start performing calculations and doing some ratios, analysis, and all of that. Then you can firstly jot your exhibits down before you
Okay.
start doing your
So
calculations.
the personal notes I want to do, can I do it like at the end when I know that it's possible that I might not use that last page? I can use that page, right? And it won't be a problem or anything.
No, it won't be, it will not. You can even do it at the beginning.
Okay.
You can do your rough work at the beginning and all that, or your
Then
summary.
based on, okay. So based on introduction, does it have to be in the beginning or I can do it when I'm done?
Me, if I was in the exam, I would do it when I'm done. Like I've told you severally, I would do it because the exam you're under stress. You don't.
Yes.
I would do it at the end. I
All
would do
right.
it at the end.
Is it
But
very the introduction, is it very important?
yes, so it's important. It's important.
Okay.
At least it will give you like 3 to 5 marks.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But what is much more important is the executive summary. That's
All right.
20%. Yeah.
Okay.
Because and why is 20%, like I told Yusuf, is that is what would direct the examiner to different aspect of your report. Because that is where the
Okay.
examiner wants to see the analysis you have done, the recommendations you have made. Then the guy will then go and confirm from, okay, you say you did this analysis. Let's see the details. You say you made this recommendation. Let's see the details. Then he goes and confirm. Then he starts giving you mark like that.
The executive summary has to contain every single thing you've done in your booklets.
No. So the executive summary, the way it works is that, okay, we have been given work by this so person, and so to do this, and this.
Mm.
Now, on the basis of this, we have carried out this analysis. We have carried out performance analysis. We have carried out using ratio analysis like liquidity, like efficiency, and all of that to carry out this performance analysis. Additionally, we also did investment analysis. So all the analysis, the major analysis, not that you are listing everything, you tell them the analysis you did, which
And what
of
was
course
the
you just, yes, and also the conclusion you made, the general conclusion, not all the conclusion you made on each analysis. No, the
all right.
general, like okay, and we concluded that this company is a profitable company because like that. Then finally, we recommended that they should go ahead to acquire this based on the analysis we have done. That's your executive summary.
Okay, so your recommendations, the challenges and the your general summary on how they should do your general judgments.
Yes. So I will show you
Yes.
samples today, hopefully, for
All
you
right.
to see.
Hello,
So
sir.
Thank you.
executive summary should not be more than 1 page. At
Hello,
at
sir.
at worst, it should not be more than 1.5 pages.
All right,
Hello.
sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Hello, sir.
Yeah. Yeah, Usman.
Sorry, sir. It's me, Anthony, sir.
Yeah,
Good day, sir.
Oh,
yes, sir.
Anthony.
Hello, sir.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
my hand was up before Anthony's. I,
Okay,
I
okay.
wanted
Go
to
ahead.
ask on this Folax case, what do you consider to be the limitations, sir?
Limitations in what sense?
And because
Because
you you
there are a
you
lot
noted
of
that
limitations.
we will include limitation under the introduction. So I don't know
Again,
how we will craft the limitation, whether in terms of data, the type of data they give us, that the data, the accounts are not audited accounts of stuff like that, or the
it,
validity of how to use the data used.
yeah. So it depends. It depends on the unseen, right? So we don't know what additional information they are going to give to you and what you need. But on a general note, you'll be looking at those data or those information that you needed that were not provided to you, right? So, for example, and it depends really. It depends. So, but the limitation is around that data restriction, the data you could not get that will have helped you do better in your work. If there are no limitations there, if you cannot figure out anyone, you can leave that part out. Because
Okay.
ordinarily in real life, ordinarily in real life, when we are doing this type of reports, if we need further information, we would request from the client, and which they might give us. But in this case, it's not possible, right? So probably maybe you need, like you've mentioned, probably maybe you need a statement of cash flows for each of the target company, which you did not get. Probably maybe you need minutes of meetings to better understand the strategic direction of the company and you could not get. And
All right.
those are few issues that you can raise. Just look at it and see where you can actually come in there.
Okay, sir.
Sorry, sir.
Okay.
On the back of that, please, can you just help us with like a template of this whole report, like from the cover page, what it should contain,
I
the
already did that
executive
though.
summary, eh,
I already did that in that note that I shared with you, that 156 pages notes is there already.
the
It
textbook.
had, yes, in the textbook. It's in the
Because I'm
report
trying to look
writing.
for it.
Okay, maybe I would look at it and I'll tell you where it is. In the report writing, I told you what you should have in the introduction, what you should have in the executive summary. Each of them, I summarized what is there, what is supposed to be there on each of them. Okay.
Please, can you help
Hello,
us
sir.
resend this?
Hello.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Okay, sir. Good day, sir.
Yeah, good
Uh,
day.
my my question also revolve around that executive summary. I heard what you said about the points and the item we should use to analyze the executive summary. But my question is, in making those analysis, because you're referring to what you did in your appendices and the analysis. Now,
Yeah,
using all this as a factor based on what your outcome, are we still going to insert figures, like maybe like a
no,
total figure, like, or strictly kind of more of a theoretical?
no. Yeah, yeah, that's a good question. Don't insert figures in your analysis, in your executive summary. Is 100% theoretical. So you don't
Okay,
have
sir.
to, don't leave all those for your analysis and findings. Leave all
Thank you.
that for analysis and findings.
Thank you very much, sir. Noted.
Yeah. Any other one? Since you people don't want us to do this report today, since you want us to follow another direction, let
Let's
me show
continue,
you.
sir. Let's continue, sir.
Okay, let me. I wanted to show you something. Yeah. Today's class is more of me creating comfort for you because everything I'm going to say, I've given you two reports. It's just for you to sit and read those reports. So somebody asked that, did I give you this? I just needed to show you that I've already given you the templates. It's on page 79 of the textbook I gave you. So the cover page I've already given you to from prepared by dates and subjects. I gave you that. And I wrote the main aim of this is to prepare to give a professional appearance and establish a context. Now, in your executive summary, I told you what we want to find there. I said the purpose of the report, key analysis conducted, main findings, principal recommendations. I mean, your final recommendation. Don't start doing. So, you see, if
Please,
your executive summary is
sir,
going beyond,
please resend it. The one I have here is not up to 100 pages.
and that's the old one now. I've even sent the one that was 150 pages self to you. I will reshare this. So, as I said, you should keep it to 1 page or less. So because what I can expect from you is clarity and brevity. And that's why they are giving you 20 marks. Because the way they mark is from your executive summary is what will point them to every part of your report. Then they will know that you know what you are. So executive summary is so important. Avoid analysis here. Just summarize conclusions only. Like I told you, write this last after finishing the main report. Write, don't go and start. You get zero. Zero. If you go and start writing, how can you even write executive summary? The introduction, that's the terms of reference. That's the introduction is the terms of reference of a report. That's where you write, okay, this is the person, he told us the person who requested the report, the purpose of the report, the sources of information, the limitations or assumptions, and all of that. That's where you would find it. And somebody's asking, does ethics come? Yeah, you can put a one sentence liner for ethics. Not bad. It's not bad, but it's not a critical component of an executive summary, right? And I also, in your analysis and findings, I also did a summary of what you find there. Your financial evaluation, interpretation, recommendation, the product viability, or whatever you are analyzing, then your strategic analysis and all of that. That's what you're going to find in your analysis. You're just doing, then also your ethics, also give it a section. Then your conclusion and recommendation, give that also a section. And your appendices, like I've told you and I've said this over and over again, this is the first thing you do. This is the first thing you do. All your calculations, put them in your appendix, and don't start counting pages and say this number of pages. Don't do that. Write it first. Write it first. It means nothing. Then I did a summary of for you again in this report. This is the order. This is the professional report templates and the purpose of each of them and the marks they give them. Then I now told you that, okay, I've given you a professional template, but the way you would do it in the exam, I've given you. We have spoken about it before. This is how you're going to present it. You read, you do your calculations, you write your analysis, you write your conclusions, you write your introduction, you write your executive summary last. So we have actually looked at these things.
But sir, I'm just thinking, can't we request for extra paper, extra answer sheets if we
Yes,
exhaust one?
you can now. Why not? You can request.
Now what for you?
Why can't you request? Request if it's not enough. But
Hey,
why
God,
do you
I
ask that?
beg, go extra shit.
Why did you ask that?
I'm
Is it
just
in terms of
saying,
the space you want to leave or
I'm
something like
just
that?
saying, if we start our analysis on the first page of the answer sheet and we don't have enough space to just write the executive summary or so, or can't we just request for answer sheet, then we use that as the first answer sheet to write the executive summary, then the first answer sheet that we collect will be at the back to be part of the appendix and all. Because I see that some people are saying executive summary should be the first and all those kind of things.
So that means you will now rearrange it or something like that.
I'm just saying.
Yes, you can get extra sheets, but just make it comfortable for yourself. Don't overburden yourself with the arrangements because the guy is not really the way they mark your ICAN exam is they will pieces all your booklets. They will pieces everything. The person that will mark executive summary, the person that will mark analysis, the person that will mark, just make sure that you'd label each sections of your reports clearly So, and make sure the way I've told you you should write it is how you should write it. So if you want to make it easy for you, just follow that order. You will pass. You'll never fail. You would definitely pass if you write the right thing. But like I've mentioned, if you are insisting that you want to put executive summary first, your cover page, executive summary is fine also. You can leave space. Your executive summary, that if it's going more than a page, maximum 1.5 pages, you're probably doing the wrong thing. You're probably doing the wrong executive summary. So worst case, so you can leave page 1, executive summary, page 2. That's after your appendices. So please do your appendices first. Do your workings calculations first. Do that one first. Let that comes first. Then you can then arrange, you can leave space for executive summary, leave space for introduction and all that. Then we can then move on. So guys, I think somebody made a suggestion that you should note all your questions down so that we can move forward, because I have a lot I want to show you today. And this is already 9:30, and we're supposed to close the class by 10:30 or 11 at most. So I think you should note your questions. Let's look at these reports that I've shared with you. Then you can then ask your questions later on. Please, I think it's advisable that we do that. So let us continue. So now I came up with an unseen, and the direction of my unseen is that they said we already read this last week, so I don't think I want to read it again. But they give us a bit 6. This really talks about the business, the strategic direction of the company, that they want to form a subsidiary, and the subsidiary would go into food service and repair center. It will also sell spare parts and do training, and it will partner with a company for supply of spare parts, right? For supply of spare parts. Then they give us initial estimates of investments and all that, cash flow projections, performance issues and ethical issues, like there are some things that they did wrong. They might not give you directly in your own unseen, but you are the one that will go and look for it so that you can have something to write under your ethics. But yeah, I gave it to you that the FD that authorizes transaction is the MD's cousin, that the board minutes didn't contain related party transactions. We have not verified our vendors and all of that. So all that. And it gave us financial summary of FOLAC for the current and future years. And it gave us insight into the external environment of FOLAC. So the growth in e-commerce, the government launching some environmental policies, banks introducing financing, new entrants offering mobile diagnostic services at lower cost. So this is a strategic proposal that they want to diversify. They want to invest $800 million. Not $800 million, they will raise a loan of $800 million at 15% interest, share loan. Then establish an independent procurement. So somebody was raising that they saw 12% in my report. I think it was supposed to be 15% because that's the cost of capital. That's the cost of raising funds in the market. It's 15%. And they also told us what we're supposed to do. The question will tell you what you're supposed to do. So in my report, immediately I see my unseen, and I've been able to summarize it this way. Again, what you're going to be summarizing in your unseen, that's the first thing you do. In your first page, jot down the data you can find in each exhibit. Jot down the data and also write down the requirements that they ask you to do, what the examiner asks you to do, because they will say you should carry out analysis of this company and this company. So you would probably write down the exhibit you can get the data from. That, okay, if I want to carry out this exhibit, I will get it. If I want to carry out this exhibit, I will get it. If I want to do this exhibit, I will get it. Like that. So then you move on to your appendices. So you should be able to know what appendices you want to do. You should. So appendix 1, you want to do ratio. Appendix 2, you want to do contribution margin analysis. You want to do investment appraisal. Then restrict to calculations. I would advise that don't put all these other theoreticals in your appendix. We don't need to. Practically, in the exam, it might not be that easy for you. So just leave except if you just want to jot some things on them, it's fine. In your appendix, that okay, for ethics, you just want to note some things down, what they did wrong, the issues. Then you can then go analyze it in your analysis and findings. In your why I always say, okay, let's do all this. It's just for you to like Ansoff now. You know that its major use is just a company that wants to grow. You want to grow, whether you want to move into a new industry, or whether you want to divest, or whether you want to create a new line of products. Ansoff gives you options. It gives you options. Whether you want to, it will tell you, okay, is it diversification? You can either go for diversification, or you go for market penetration, or you go for product development, or you go for market development. Like that, it will give you options. So then you choose which options you want to go for. So you can just note based on the information you have in the unseen. You would be able to look at, okay, this is where this company is going. They want to do diversification. Like that. So you can just note that, then you go and analyze the implication of each of them in your analysis. But even if you don't do that, you can go and do all that. So we already discussed this last week. These investment appraisals, the workings, this company has a positive NPV. If you can do your IRR, fine. You should be able to do it now that we have discussed it, 10.9%. Then compute your ratios. And I did a lot of assumptions here because most of you should know how to compute ratio. And there are some figures, like when I was doing my liquidity ratios, my inventory now, I was not given inventory. I just assumed 30% of current assets like that. But that's not, just be able to, in your exam, they will give you all of those details in full, which you are going to use to compute your ratio. So you do all your ratios. And for ratio, there are key ratios for profitability, for example, now. There is majorly these 4, you can adopt it for your exam that I've computed. For liquidity, these 2. If you want to do cash ratio as a third option, is also fine. For efficiency ratios, this 4 is okay for you, for your efficiency. It tells you everything. Asset turnover, debtors in days, and all that. For gearing, debt to equity and interest cover, it's just okay for you, for your whatever analysis you want to do. And I even added gearing ratio, which is almost looking at the same thing with debt to equity. Then I went to my analysis and findings. And if you look at the way I did my analysis and finding, I started with financial and performance analysis. I said this section evaluates the financial performance and position of Folac Nigeria Limited over the period using key ratios computed in Appendix 2. The objective is to assess profitability, liquidity, efficiency, and capital structure to determine the company's financial capacity to support its proposed expansion, because they are planning to buy this. So I want to analyze and see, do they have the capacity? So I started with profitability. I said I spoke on their gross profit margin, that okay, it increased from this to this. And what does that show? It shows that they are controlling their cost of sales through improved procurement efficiency and better pricing discipline. I moved to net profit margin, that okay, it's improved from this 1.8% to 2.2%, reflecting operational efficiency, because a net profit margin shows your ability to manage your overheads, all your expenses. So if it's increasing, it's a good indicator for anyone. It's really a good indicator that this company is managing its expenses. Then I spoke on return on asset and return on equity, like that. And I said, however, these margins remains low by industry standard. And suggesting that the company operates on thin profit spread, possibly due to competitive pricing pressures in the vehicle sales industry and limited economies of scale. While profitability is trending upwards, the improvement is incremental rather than transformational. Yeah. So this is my analysis. So when I did my simple analysis, then I just wrote a simple note here. So you should always end with something that speak around what you can get from the case, the strategic implication of their ratio, like that. So I just brought in the implication of these ratios, that is small, is low when you compare it to industry standard. You're doing 13.9% when your mate are doing 50%. Even though if you look at the case, you will not see industry average, but they might give you. But we expect that you should have made research about this industry. Automobile industry is a high margin industry. Is a high margin. You might see the inventory turnover slow, because you will not find them selling car every other day, at least for the most of them. But when they sell, they make good margin, very good margin. So, and that is the direction we are actually speaking to. And we also justify, maybe it's because of competition, because there are a lot of competition in this market, right? But yes, I told him, yes, his profitability is going up, but it's incremental. It's not transformational. So even I'm just telling this guy that even you yourself, you are struggling. Even you yourself, you are struggling. Okay. So, and again, I can see Oluchi is speaking on trend analysis. Well, you can speak on trend analysis also, but I'm just focusing on, you can do like a you can do a paragraph trend analysis, really. You can look at the movement from year on year on their revenue, on their profits, on their assets, and on their liabilities. Those key areas, you can look at it, and I mean that would have really covered for profitability. You can speak on their revenue movements also. So it's a good point you have raised, Olichi. That's trend analysis, which is more of horizontal analysis. So we might not need vertical, or common size. You might not need that because we're already working on ratios already. So I also analyzed their liquidity ratios. I looked at the current ratio and quick ratio. I made mention that is below the benchmark. I spoke about that shows that they are struggling financially. Their liquidity position or their short-term, the ability to meet their short-term obligation might be difficult. And also, I told them that inventory turnover is improving because it's improving from 86 to 80 days. But I mean, overall, this guy is struggling in terms of liquidity, right? So if he goes on to go and enter into any unanticipated expenses, it might be very difficult for him. It might be very difficult for him. Then I spoke of efficiency and utilization and asset utilization. I also analyzed that. You see the way I'm keeping it simple. So there is really nothing special. We are just taking it step by step. So for my efficiency and asset utilization, I spoke about the asset turnover ratio. It improved marginally from 0.65 times to 0.68 times, which indicates that they are using their assets and they are selling. Also, I talked about the payments and receivables period that remained constant, is not improving. So it shows that, yes, their working capital cycle is predictable, but it shows that they might be dependent on suppliers' credits to finance operations since they are not paying their supplier. It's not declining, it's still there. The number of days it takes last year is what it takes this year. So they need to improve that end, right? They need to improve collection so that the liquidity pressure that they have will be eased, because I saw from my liquidity ratio that this company might have difficulty settling their short-term obligations, speaking about their liquidity ratio. And also, it can reduce reliance on external funding. And as you can see, their debt to equity ratio is huge, is huge. Their debt is majorly what is funding their operations. So they are depending on borrowings. So I don't want to know what the industry is doing. It will be above industry, even though this you will not find that in this unseen, my unseen that I did, but I can conveniently see it above industry. So, of course, high financial risk because of high interests and reduced borrowing capacity for new projects. So, how will they get the money they want to use to fund this new project they want to do, considering that they have already borrowed so much? I also spoke on their interest cover, that it has improved, which shows that they are highly profitable and they can meet their interest obligation. But the capital gearing or the gearing ratio is still at 70%, showing that debt is the dominant source of financing their capital structure. So I'm saying that they need to exercise prudence in financing the proposed expansion, as additional debt would further weaken its solvency and liquidity position. Then I did a summary. I did a summary at the end of everything, which is what you should do as well. That, yes, the company demonstrates a modest financial viability, but it lacks the balance sheet strength to pursue aggressive growth without addressing its capital structure and liquidity constraint. But that's the major issue they have from our ratio. capital structure. Their gearing is high, and also liquidity constraints. They don't have ability to settle their short-term obligation. Their liquidity ratios are poor. So I then told them that any proposed expansion must therefore be accompanied by strong cash flows planning and enhanced governance to safeguard sustainability. To safeguard sustainability. So, and that was the first part of my report. Speaking of financial and performance analysis. Now, the second part of my report is investment analysis. So, first, I started with that the proposed Fuller Auto Care represents a strategic initiative by Polar Motors to diversify into after-sales service maintenance and spare parts operations. And I said that this section evaluates the financial viability and strategic suitability of the project using NPV and IRR with detailed computation presented in Appendix 1. So I told them about the project, that we want to set up automobile service and maintenance facility that wants to do this. And the projected cash flows were discounted using the company's cost of capital. This is a mistake. It was 16%. It was 16%. So we discounted using 16%. And I brought in my financial evaluation, right? The NPV, whatever it is that you got as NPV, you put it here. So this indicates that the project, I explained it to them, so thereby creating value for shareholders. I talked about the IRR, which is above confirming financial viability, whatever it is that this one is. I think this was 18 point something, this was 16 or 15. Then the payback period is 3.6 years. So which is the point where the inflow, if you look at the total inflow on the total outflow, you'll be able to get how many years to take you to recoup your investment, which is 3.6 years. So I then make some comments here that these results imply that the investment is financially sound under the base assumption. The positive NPV and IRR above the other weights indicates that the project will increase shareholders' wealth if implemented effectively. Even though I didn't do workings for sensitivity analysis, then I just, if you can't do this, you can just omit it in your own calculation. So I just want to speak on how sensitive the results are. This NPV and this IRR, majorly the NPV, how sensitive are they to changes in cash flow? That if the cash flow should change, right, so by what percent would our cash flow change that would make my NPV to come to zero, right? That will make my NPV to come to zero. So here, I said that if my cash flow should fall by 10%, it would bring my sensitivity to zero immediately. Also, if my cost should increase by 15%, it will bring it to zero. And of course, the returns are also sensitive. Generally, they are sensitive to inflation and interest, right? So if inflation continues to increase, it might affect the returns. If interest, if we are, of course, we are heavily reliant on loans. If it increase, it would also affect our project returns. So for us to have a sustained success, it depends on how well we're able to maintain this, how well we're able to maintain the returns, how well we're able to increase our return. Because if it should fall, if it should decline by 10%, the project will not be profitable again. It's not going to be profitable again. Okay, I saw one hand up.
Sir, I don't know, I texted you concerning it. I didn't see details on the inventory, the receivables, payables, because you calculated
Ye-
it in your margins, but I didn't see it there.
Yes, I did not break down that in my workings. Like here, where is it? This is when I was doing my liquidity ratio, for example, I saw that I didn't break it. They'll give you all of these numbers in the exam. So I just, like this inventory now, I just use 30% of my current assets. You won't assume that in the exam. They will give you everything in the exam, all the details. So I just assumed those just to compute what I need to compute and move on. So, but in the exam, they will give you everything, details that you would need to do all your ratios. So, at the end of the day, I talked about that this project supports the company's strategy by expanding into vehicle servicing and spare parts. So you can leverage, since it's already into sales and distribution, you can leverage his customers' relationship and brand reputation to create a new revenue stream. And this diversification will stabilize earnings and reduce over reliance on the volatile car import and sales business. And also, I spoke about the project will strengthen their value and all of that. And I also talked about the constraint and the funding risk they have in terms of their gearing ratio and their weak liquidity ratio, which shows that how are they going to raise money? So they will require to go and look for money. So, and I told them that they should explore equity option, partnership, vendor leasing, and all of that. Or they should roll out the project in phases because of all these pointers. And I also used Ansoff metrics to analyze their growth options. So I said this option evaluate the strategic direction of FOLAC using Ansoff product market growth matrix, which categorizes growth options by their product and market focus, and say that this framework would help assess how the company's current and proposed initiative aligns with its resources, capabilities, and risk appetite. So I introduced the model. And I said, so currently, this company operates in Nigeria in a highly competitive automotive market and is into importation and sales of vehicles. Their growth has been slow. Their profitability is okay. Their liquidity is weak. And the management is proposing to launch AutoCare Limited, a service and maintenance subsidiary, and it represents a strategic attempt to stabilize earnings and improve customers' retention. So, in applying Ansoff, the company's actions can be classified across 4 strategic quadrants, representing different growth paths. So, I wrote market penetration. So if you don't know about Ansoff before, you need to know these 4 classifications. Market penetration. This is where you want to go by intensifying your existing products, introducing your existing products in an existing market, moving into a new market, like what he wants to do now. So I said this involves expanding sales of current vehicles products to existing segments within Nigeria. So Fola continues to rely heavily on this approach through competitive pricing and promotional campaigns, online sales, and flexible payment and financing partnership with banks. So I said that this strategy carries low risk, but it offers limited growth potential due to intense market competition, the currency volatility, and import restriction. The company's current liquidity and gearing levels indicate that it may not sustain prolonged price competition without eroding margin further. So strategic, and I said that the market penetration helps preserve short-term revenue stability, but it's insufficient for long-term growth and margin expansion. So I looked at the first part of Ansoff, which is market penetration. So this one is just what you are doing. Just look for other ways of selling, other market for you to sell your products. And it usually comes with FV marketing, introducing competitive pricing and all of that. Looking for other channels to sell and just finding ways to improve your customer base. That's what market penetration speaks to. Then, and at the end of the day, I spoke about the strategic implication of this quadrant, right? Then I moved to product development. This is where you are introducing a new product into an existing market. So like what this FOLAC wants to do. So the establishment of this FOLAC Auto Care represents a classic product development strategy because the fact that they want to move into servicing and car repairs subsector is a new product for them. And it will be introduced into an existing market because it's their existing customers that would also patronize them. So, and I said that this initiative leverages on their brand recognition and existing relationships with car buyers. So it creates opportunity for recurring service income, stronger customer loyalty, and better brand differentiation. Because they will see that you are doing something different from your existing offerings, which is just pure car sales. Now you're doing services. You're doing servicing. So, and from our evaluation, it shows that yes, the project is financially viable, but it requires technical capability, skilled personnel, good governance that will prevent unethical practices. So product development support sustain diversification, but carries implementation risk because you need money because you're developing a new product entirely. Another one is existing products in new markets. So this is where you want to move to, you want to sell in another country, in another state. You want to explore a new market with your current product. So I said they plan to expand into other areas and increase their national presence. I mean, this means that's market development. Anytime they want to move into other countries, other states, that's market development. I said this approach is consistent with their vision to enhance market share and exploit good opportunities outside of Lagos and all. So you just write around that. Then at the end, you see that I always put a one sentence, one paragraph implication that market development offers medium-term good, but inquire. So this, my report, is a good candidate for you to, because this, I intentionally wrote this strategic implication that you can reuse it in other reports that you would write. So depending on the direction of the examiner, I made it so generic for you to reuse if you are going to use Ansoff in your exam. So this, as soon as you practice this, within a few days you have to your exam, it will help you. And it's highly summarized. Then diversification, which is the last quadrant. This speaks on new products in new markets. And this one is in the long term. This is where you want to, you want to do new things entirely. You want to go to another market. You want to start a new product. So for as far as Fulank is concerned, he's planning to exploring assembly and EV technology partnership. So that's diversification. That's diversification. And it's the riskiest. So yes, it aligns with our industrial policy and localization drive, but it demands significant investment, technical know-how, foreign collaborations. And given the company's current financial structure, immediate diversification would overstretch the balance sheet and governance capacity. So again, I said diversification should be considered only after you have made success in your auto care operations and your financial strength. So I'm telling him, don't go and do it. So, and I did some overall strategic evaluations, like a high-level summary, so that I said the company's current and proposed initiative follows a progressive risk path, moving logically from market penetration to product development and potentially into market development. So, and really, you can reuse this in most of your report. This is how Ansoff works. You don't, the recommended order for Ansoff is market penetration first. Because it has a very low risk implication. Then product development, then market development. Okay. Market development is riskier than product development. The market development, you are going into a new location that you're not used to and all that. So comes with, and the riskiest is diversification, because that is new product, new market. So that's the order. And we said this measured is because it's a measured approach. It demonstrates strategic discipline, a key strength in financial constraint environment. So, and I said, for him to be able to execute these strategies, it depends on his financial resilience, governance, and operational efficiency. Then I spoke on ethics as well. You can easily read up this ethics part, and I spoke about implication for their business and all of that. Then finally, I came to recommendations and conclusion. So this is where I talked about all the recommendations that I need them to. So, and I started from that, okay, we have conducted analysis in previous section. And from there, you can see that it possesses significant good potential, but it faces pressing financial governance and operational challenges that must be addressed to ensure long-term success. So then we made the following recommendation on their strategic direction and proposed. First, financial. We told them about their debt position. that they need to work on this, their eye gearing, and they should pursue equity financing or strategic partnership or rights issue so that they can reduce dependence on debts. And I also spoke about their working capital optimization. They need to find a way to improve inventory management so that they can shorten cash cycle and get money, and find a way to get money from their receivables as well. So I spoke about cost efficiency so that they can improve their margin because their margin is also low. Then I spoke about the project they want to finance, that they should be cautious, right? If they can finance it through their cash inflows, right? Because going into debt and paying fixed interest for them now, they might not be financially capable to do that. After making recommendation on financials, also I made recommendation on strategic and operations. Like I told them that they should implement this their new project in phases. They can begin with a service center in Lagos to test operational efficiency before they move into other markets. So I'm strategically telling them that start from market penetration. Start from market penetration. Or since they are, that means they are starting from product development. So the new product they want to do start from Lagos, since they already operate in Lagos. Then since they want to do this service, they should incorporate digital. They should do e-booking, digital diagnostics, customer relationship systems, and all of that. They should train people. They should train people because there's every skill gap. It was given to us in the pre-scene. There's serious skill gap that they can adopt. Then they can then start saying, okay, probably you want to go into a new market. After they have seen the operational efficiency in Lagos, then they can gradually move into new markets. Then I also make some recommendation around ethics, which you can look at, and sustainability as well. Then the conclusions that I made for them, that the project is viable, the company is weak, the company's strategic path should be from sales to they should move strategically, and this company is strategically, Fulak Motor is strategically viable but operational vulnerable. So the board should therefore, so I eventually came with a conclusion that they should therefore approve the auto care project subject to implementation of the recommended financial governance and ethical reforms. By doing so, the company can achieve sustained growth, enhance stakeholders' confidence, and strengthen its position as a leading player. So that ends my recommendations and conclusion. Then I go and write my executive summary. So in my executive summary, I said that this report has been prepared at the request of the board. This analysis and to evaluate the company's overall performance and assess viability of the proposed Fulak Auto Care project. The analysis draws upon both financial and non-financial information provided in the pre-scene and unseen. The report also considers relevant ethical and governance issues impacting the company's operations. I said the evaluation covered 4 major areas. I did financial performance, investment appraisal, strategic direction, ethical and governance compliance, supporting computation are presented in the appendix. Their financial analysis revealed that the company's profitability improved modestly, gross profit rising, returns on equity. However, in the exam, I might not even do this. I might not want to write this over again and be talking about, but it's okay. This is just a one paragraph, two sentence, so it's okay. But I just want to speak on their slightly about their profitability, that is okay, that and also they are highly leveraged and they are under liquidity pressure. Then I said the proposed um the proposed project is also has a positive NPV. Nonetheless, sensitivity shows that it's highly sensitive, because if there is any change in revenue, any 10% change in revenue will make the project not to be viable again. So they need to be prudent. And I also spoke about Ansoff. So yeah, I spoke about, after I've told them the analysis I've done, I just did a one paragraph on the ratio. I did a one paragraph on the MPV. Now I want to do a one paragraph on strategic analysis. So I told them that strategically, the company's current initiative aligns with outsourced product development strategy as it seeks to introduce new service offerings into existing customer base. So this approach leverages its brand strength, customer relationship, while supporting long-term diversification. Expansion into other cities represents market development, while proposed future ventures into assembly and electronics will constitute high-risk diversification that should only be pursued after operational consolidation. So I also spoke about the ethical and governance weakness that I also observed. So I just also a one paragraph observations on that. I said the assessment identifies significant ethical and governance weakness, including under declaration of imports, undisclosed related party relationships, weak procurement oversight. These breaches of integrity, objectivity, and professional behavior undermine corporate credibility and expose the company to regulatory sanctions. The board must therefore implement a robust governance framework incorporating code of ethics, constituted audit and risk committees, and all of that. Then, in conclusion, Fulak Motors is strategically viable, but financially and ethically constrained. The autocare project should proceed, but only after implementing the recommended financial restructuring, governance, reform, and operational controls, strengthening capital structure, embedding, and all of that. All those are my recommendations. I just listed a few. So, but I went straight to the point that, okay, they are viable, it's viable, and they should buy this, they should proceed to this project, but they need to implement our recommendations. So this is a typical executive summary flowing logically into flowing logically. So anybody that reads this already knows everything about our reports, because everything I've done is what I've summarized here. And I just give them one paragraph. First, I started with the guy that gave me the report, what's the information and all of that. I started with the evaluation I did, all the part of my report, what I did, financial performance, investment appraisal, ethics, and all of that. And I told them all my calculations are in my appendices. Then my financial analysis, I think Anthony was asked, can we put figures? Well, as you can see, I also put in some just for convenience for me. So, but very few. I put in my profitability that it improved. Might not put the figures. You can just say it's improved. Their liquidity also, and it shows that they are highly geared. And I just spoke on them. I didn't go into details. That I did in the I just spoke on profitability, liquidity, gearing, then that. Then I go into the financial data analysis, the NPV, the investment analysis. That okay, the NPV is positive and all of that. And I spoke about the ANSOF. I analyzed the ANSOF completely in my analysis. But yeah, I just told them that okay, from my analysis, I can see that this company is looking at the product development part of the ANSOF. And I said that this approach would leverage their existing brand and all of that. Then I also talked about ethics, one paragraph. Then I concluded. And this conclusion is what I've concluded before in my recommendation, that okay, they should go ahead and buy, but that's if they implement our recommendations. And this is how executive summary works. You make the guy's work easy to a very large extent because you have told him everything you have done here. The examiner, I mean, and whoever is reading your reports. Then this is my introduction. So I just, again, the people, what they gave me, the guy that gave me the job. So I've been prepared the request of the purpose of these reports. I mean, you can copy this from your requirements and the data we used and a little of what we have done, the assumptions we made, and all of that. You see, this one, I didn't even put any limitations here. Okay. And if you want, you can just write your name and sign. This is where you would usually sign in your introduction, like that. So in the exam, you can, if you wish, because your introduction should not, your executive summary should not go beyond one page. Your introduction, when you can leave space, then you go to your analysis. This is the one that takes a lot of your time because it's just for me to manage time. That's why I've spent the time outside of class to prepare this report. So if I was writing it, it will not cover so much. How do I just change? Let me, then it's better for me to so somebody said, can we list points instead of which part of the report are you talking about? It depends on the part of the report. So is it in executive summary? So executive summary is always written in paragraphs instead of in points, like that. Okay, so that's for this. You should have finished this last week. Now, I sent you another report today. So I believe this one that we just finished, I expect that all of you should have read it because I told you that I'm looking at two variations for you. One is the one we have just finished. There is another one which I've shared. I really need you to also take your time to go through this one too, just so that I'm sure that you're fully covered for the exam and it makes the exam very easy for you because it's the same pre-scene, but I now change the unseen. I change the unseen. Where is it? I change the unseen from what I have. Okay, somebody's asking, can you do cover page? Yes, you can. You can start with your cover page and you can do it after. If it's me, I will do it after my appendices. I'll just finish my appendix. I'll do my cover page. Then I move to my analysis and findings, recommendations, back to my executive summary or my introduction, then my executive summary at the end. So this is another report for you that I would advise that you also sit down and go through it, because I changed the unseen again. You see, the other one we did was that the company wants to expand into auto care. But here now, I said they had a meeting, and because of the profitability pressure due to rising import costs and intense market competition from locally assembled vehicles, that they are now considering two potential acquisition targets to strengthen Fulak's market presence and reduce import dependency. So they are looking at Auto Assembly Limited, a company, a small scale local vehicle assembly company operating under Nigeria Automotive Industry Development Policy. And also they are looking at Supreme Auto Parts Limited, a spare part and service provider with a nationwide distribution network and growing demand amongst corporate fleets. So he said the board wants to determine which option provides the best financial and strategic fit for Fulak Motors. Your task is to assess the two acquisition opportunities using the financial and strategic data provided from Exhibit 6 to Exhibit 11. Okay, so can you please can we take a 5 minute break? Then we'll come back and look at this. I'll just look through the report for you within 30-40 minutes together, so that when you're reading it, it's easier for you to go through. So let me see. Let's resume back by 10:40. So you can just still stay on the call so that as soon as I'm back, you will not miss anything. So now if you have any questions, you can be noting them down so that I can address them within the little time we have left. So now let's take another 30 minutes to finalize these reports. So I won't go ahead and be reading. I will just touch on the major parts on how you approach questions like this in the exam. So of course, the examiner, they would, on the first page, will tell you what you're expected to do. The requirements will be mentioned there in the exam, and they will give you different exhibits. And the first one would be from your Oga. I will tell you what you're supposed to do, details, and all of that. So they give us, they wrote, he sent an email to Sylvester, and the board of director of this company is requesting that we help them in evaluating two potential acquisition targets as part of their strategy to expand into local manufacturing and strengthen after sales service. So these are the two companies they want to buy. They're looking at buying Autotech, which is into local assembly, and also Supreme, which is into spare parts and servicing of cars, repairs, and all of that. And this Supreme is popular amongst fleet operators, people that have plenty cars that they use for commercial purposes or even ride-hailing business, people that do taxi and all of that. So this company is seeking to acquire one of these businesses. It wants to acquire one of them in order to diversify its revenue base and improve supply chain efficiency. So the management of this company believes that the two options present a unique financial and strategic implication. One of them offering backward integration into vehicle assembly and other horizontal expansion into parts and maintenance services. So, I mean, that's the problem they are faced with that we need to provide solution to them for. So they gave us the financial statement of the two companies. For Autotech, we're given the P&L of Autotech. Statement. They give us statement of profit or loss of Autotech, and also statement of financial position of this company. Also, they also give us statement of profit or loss of the second company. And also statement of financial position of Supreme, like that. And they also give us some segment data for, this should be for Supreme, because it's one that sells spare parts. They give us his revenue, variable costs, fixed costs, labor hours, machine hours. And we're told that for Supreme, he has a limiting factor, which is machine hours. That's his limiting factor, machine hours. And also, for Supreme, they might not give you this in the exam because you are the one that will calculate this, but they give us some financial data indicators for Supreme. They give us inventory turnover, receivables in days, current ratios, gearing, we'll see labor productivity, which is, they give us that in revenue per hour. They give us interest cover, and they also give us customer retention rate. So the board has asked that our report should compare and interpret the performance of both companies using key ratios, analyze divisional contributions. I'm back. So they were asked to prepare a professional report addressed to the board, and your analysis should include relevant appendices for financial computations and concise commentary. They integrate financial and strategic insight. He said he would like to have our report by November 11th. And yeah. So they also give us some industry and market information. So these are real data. They said extract from Nigerian automotive market reports and additional data provided by FOLAC Motor Strategy Team. So we're told that Nigeria's automotive industry is gradually shifting from import-dependent vehicles sales to locally assembly and component production driven by automotive industry development policy introduced by the federal government. And this policy provides tax holidays, duty breaks for completely knocked down imports, and import tariffs reduction for approved local assembler. For those of you that don't know what completely knocked down means, it means vehicles that needs to be assembled in Nigeria. So they are providing duty rebates for importing such. So despite policy incentive, infrastructural deficit, foreign exchange volatility, unstable power supply continue to challenge local manufacturers. They're told that the total market size for automobile in 2024 is 2.5 trillion, which is a 10% CAGR, year-on-year growth. The compound annual growth rates. They give us some industry segments information. For vehicle importation, they have 42% market share, is still the largest segment. Year-on-year growth is 5%. Local assembly, market share 23%, year-on-year growth 12%. Is a growing segment, especially with the support of government policy. Auto parts and accessories, they have 25% market share. Year-on-year growth is 8%. And that's because there are a lot of aging vehicles on Nigerian roads. The services and maintenance segments, market share of that is 10%. Year-on-year growth is 10%. So local assembly offers a completely growth opportunity for this company. auto part and servicing as well, because the year-on-year growth is also impressive. The competitive landscape in the local assembly segment, there is Innocent Motors. His position in the market is strong. He gets a lot of government contracts and he has integrated product lines. There's Mandila's Group that deals in servicing and parts. His market position in the market is also strong. And he has partnership with original equipment manufacturers, like people that actually manufacture those cars. He has partnership with them so he can get genuine parts. And there's CNI Motors that's into imports. His position in the market is moderate. He's into fleet leasing. He leases vehicles and partnership with Asian brands. There's Supreme Auto Parts, which is one of the companies we are looking to buy. Also in servicing and parts. His position in the market is moderate. He's trying to expand customer base and competitive pricing. And there is Autotech, which we're also considering to buy. Is into local assembly. Is a small company. It's still emerging. He has a modern plant. It's small, but is growing. Now, the market condition, the macroeconomic environment, the borrowing rate is 16%. The exchange rate is not looking good for the Naira because it has been depreciated by 18%. And the costs of import for semi-knockdown vehicles is high. Government policy favors local content, and they are trying to encourage local production and assembly in Nigeria. There are environmental regulations from new emission standards that will take effect in 2026, and local assemblers are required to meet minimum carbon efficiency rating. And there's technological trends arising from adoption of hybrid and electrical vehicle technology. It's small, it's slow, but it's expected to gain traction within 5 years. Consumers. So consumers are very price sensitive. They prioritize affordability over advanced features. It's whether to buy a car is not small money. It's either you have the money or you don't. So people are very price sensitive when it comes to cars. So demand for used vehicles then remains very strong, but constrained by high import duties. Fleet operators and corporate clients are increasingly outsourcing vehicle maintenance. And there is growing preference for warranty-backed service agreement among high-end customers, which is what Supreme does. So he has begun to adopt that. Now, they give us some industry ratios from gross profit margin, operating profit margin, we'll see current ratio and all of that. Now, observations relevant to FOLAC. They said Autotech, which is one of the companies we want to buy, would enable FOLAC to integrate backward into vehicle production. We already know that. Supreme aligns closely with FOLAC existing AutoCare subsidiary, creating an horizontal expansion. Okay. Labor and machine utilization are critical efficiency factors. Autotech shows improving utilization of 18%, while Supreme faces machine hour limitation due to downtime. Both markets are expected to expand modestly over the next 3 years. Okay, so ethics, governance, and professional issues. So they give us information on conflict of interest, potential buyers in vendor recommendation. Document from the procurement unit indicates that one of FOLAC's senior managers, the head of AutoCare operations, previously worked as a consultant for Supreme one of the target companies being evaluated for acquisition, although not explicitly stated in his conflict of interest declaration. Internal emails suggest to maintain personal relationship with mid-level supervisors in Supreme Auto Parts. So the implication is that there is a bias in operational performance, reporting to management, threat to self-interest or familiarity threats to objective decision making. Right? Since the guy was the head of auto care, so he might be biased towards the acquisition. Might be biased. Another one is procurement integrity concerns. So some spare parts procured for Fuller Auto Care division were supplied through a third-party intermediary that shares a director with Autotech. The second concern is procurement integrity concern because some spare parts procured for Fuller's Auto Care division were supplied through a third-party intermediary that shares a director with Autotech Assembly Limited. There's no evidence of competitive trending or price benchmarking in those transactions. So there's possible breach of internal procurement policy. That's within Autotech. Because we are saying that we bought some part from them and there was no competitive trending, there was no price benchmarking. So, I mean, it's an ethical issues that we within Autotech. Another one is lack of independent due diligence documentation. So review of documentation submitted to your firm shows that financial projections for Autotech were prepared internally by their own finance director without external validation. Supreme Autopart provided unedited management account for the past 2 years. Data reliability concerns, professional components, and due care issues for the advisory assignment. So these are the implications of that. So, and there's also weak corporate governance structure at Autotech assemblers. So, because the board is dominated by the founder and 2 family members. They don't have any independent director. And minutes reveals that strategic decision, including loan requests and major equipment purchases, are approved without proper financial feasibility. So these are the implications of that. They might not give you all these implications in your own exam. Also, there are environmental and compliance violations. So the National Environmental Standard and Regulatory Enforcement Agency confirms that Autotech received a warning notice for improper management of industrial waste. And also, corrective steps have been initiated though. So there is compliance risk for them and all that. Also, there is also data security and privacy issues for Supreme Autos. So from their audit log, we can see that staff has unrestricted access to customer profiles. So they can see customers' information. And there's also pressure on the finance team to improve ratios. So an internal email reveals that the CFO of one of the target companies instructed the accounting staff to ensure that liquidity ratios look, I mean, these are integrity threats, risk of intentional misstatement and all of that. So we have to look into all this and incorporate them into our reports by maintain objectivity, apply professional skepticism, ensure that our reports reflect verified information, and communicate any material ethical concerns to FOLAC. They also give us some operational and market data for Autotech. since it's into assembly, usually it has the capacity to produce 12,000 units, but he did only 10,200. So that means if you do 10,200 divided by 12, so its capacity utilization is 85%. They might not give you this 85%, but you need to identify it in your analysis. The average labor hours per vehicle is 32 hours. So it takes 32 hours to produce one vehicle. The standard hour, meaning they are supposed to use 30 hours. So there's a variance. There's an adverse variance of 2 hours. So which we can express in percentage as 6.7%. That's labor efficiency variance. Percentage adverse. These are the materials used. They give us the actual and the standard. That means you need to speak on this adverse quantity usage. The steel frames, electrical components, paint materials, they are using more than the standard. That's why they are all adverse. So that means they say that waste levels increased due to multiple machine breakdowns, supplier delays, cost occasional use of premium priced substitute materials. So these are the reasons for which we can speak to. Now, when they produce, they are reject and they are rework. So 48% of what they sold are rejected. So people will return it. And when they return, they need to rework. And they spend 15,600 hours on reworking. And they spend 124.3 million as cost of reworking or making corrections to rejected vehicles. So they give us supply chain information. Average suppliers and lead time 28 days. So meaning that it takes suppliers 28 days to bring our goods to us when we place order. We have 6 foreign suppliers, 3 local suppliers. An average vehicle delivery time to dealership is 21 days. So all this information are for Autotech. So these are the kind of data they can give you in the exam. Give us data on capacity, utilization, material, efficiency, hours, reject, and all of that. Now, for Supreme, that is into servicing, sales of spare parts, and all of that. So we're given available machine hours, actual machine hours used, idle machine hours, downtime, as a result of maintenance of those machines, then utilization rate 95%. This guy is doing utilization of 85%. Supreme is doing 95%. Okay. Then we're given the details of sales and contribution information of each product that is sells, each of the parts, and the machine hours required to produce them. Also, we're given the performance of each of their services for their service centers. So these are the jobs completed so far, average hours per day per job, and customer satisfaction, which is very impressive. So they have done 5,900 maintenance, 1,480 engine repairs, 910 electrical repair. So they have done a lot of work, and customer satisfaction rate is quite high. So they also give us some other indicators. So average labor indicator or utilization is 92%. Customer repeat rate is 64%. Average parts stock out rate is 12%. Average receivable collection period is 72 days. For Supreme, they also give us some market intelligence. So market prices for cars. Locally assembled cars is sold for 15.5 million, imported 18.2, brake 9,000, full vehicle diagnostics 20,000. But Supreme, you see that it charges less than market. So it's really using competitive pricing to enter the market. So the growth rates in this spare parts market is growth rate is 8 to 10% per year. Fleet operators favor service contract, so we will get more jobs. And there is regulatory push for local assembly, even though demand remains price sensitive. Autotech delivery performance, 21 days. Supreme fulfillment rates, 88 days. Both companies face delay due to importer bottleneck. Okay. So you see, it's a lot. I just had to do this just to mirror the kind of lengthy information. I even had to reduce it just so that I won't spend forever to do this. I had to summarize most of this information. So in the exam, they will give you exhibit by exhibit. So you are supposed to extract those information. Like they give you information about the industry, just jot the key things down. If they give you information about, jot the key things per segment. If they give you information about customer, jot it. If they give you information about the macroeconomic environment, jot the major points down. Like that. If there are any observations, I mean, just jot and look at it. Take your time, understand it. Because that's the information the unseen is so important. You need to sit down, read it very well. Then jot out each exhibit, jot down the key things there. The key things, write them out. Don't just jump into calculations. No, you have 1 hour for your calculation. Take your time because it will be lengthy. So you can use this particular case I'm giving you as your practice. The first one we did, look at that. This one is now more robust than that one. Then you can also look at this because this one is looking at 2 companies now that we need to advise them to buy. So even this exhibit I gave you has summarized. And I'm even giving you some data they won't even give you, some implications, like all these implications that I'm giving you on each of the ethical issues. So it might not give you, it's you that would know the implication of them. They're supposed to speak on your reports. And they give us a lot of data on each of these companies for Autotech and Supreme. Now, let me just show you my report. Look at my cover. I kept it so simple. So I even did it before my appendix. Follow-up Nigeria Limited subjects, acquisition, evaluation reports, Autotech Assembly, and Supreme, prepared by, I just put my name there, for management of FOLAC, then the dates. That's my cover page, which you can adopt for your exam. Then I listed out the appendices I would do. I think I just intentionally put this as part of my appendix. I had more appendix before. I just had to remove most of them so that it will not be unrealistic for you. So you might not put these models in your appendix, not necessarily, just so that you will not spend more than 1 hour in this calculation, because before you know it, 1 hour is gone. You'll not be rushing in your report. And I really want you to take time. That 2 hours, you need to maximize it for that your analysis. So take your time, because I won't look through it one by one with you. I did ratio analysis for the two companies. Then I summarized those ratios. Then for Supreme, I did contribution per limiting factor. Then for Autotech, I did their production and cost efficiency. I looked at the data given to me. I looked at how efficient are they. I'll show you. Then I started with the appendix. I did profitability ratios. I did gross profit margin for the two companies for the 2 years. I did operating profit margin for the two companies for the 2 years. I did net profit margin, and I did OC for the two companies for 2 years. Then I did liquidity ratios, majorly quick and current ratios for the two companies. I did efficiency ratios. So I did inventory in days, receivables in days, payables in days, and of course, asset turnover. Then I did gearing ratio. I did debt to equity ratio. You might want to do, if you have finance costs, you might want to do interest cover also. It's advisable to do PBIT over interest or operating profit over interest. Then I did a summary of all the ratios because there are a lot. So I did Autotech, Supreme, Industry, Fulak. This Fulak, I actually did it from I didn't include it in this unseen. So in case the examiner gives you that of Fulak as well, I think they might give you the ratio of Fulak for free. You don't need to calculate it. So just place them side by side under Appendix 2 as a summary of all my ratios, something you can do so that when you are doing your analysis, it's easy for you to look at them and write on them. So I did same for liquidity comparison. I did same for efficiency and gearing. And I also did some market or operational benchmarks, like they give me capacity utilization. You remember for Autotech, I was told the number of cars it can produce and what is actually producing. This is Autotech now. He has the capacity to produce 12,000, but he was doing 10, so it's 85%. But for Supreme, for the servicing and all of that it does, he has available machine hours of 110,000, but he's doing just 104, which is 95% capacity utilization or utilization rate, of course, which is better. I just put it side by side. The industry is, you won't find it in your scene. I just put 80%, may likely give you. If they don't, it doesn't matter. Compare between these two. At least this shows me that they are doing better than the two of them. They are doing better than the industry, the two companies. So I think there's a question. Do you use average payables for the second year? You don't use closing for the 2 years. It's easier for you. And this one, I just extracted it. I want to ignore this. I just brought it in just to rank based on contribution per hour as given in the question for Supreme. Now, another major one is this contribution per limiting factor. And the reason I'm computing this is because I was told that the machine hours is a limiting factor for Supreme. So they give me all this data. I have all of this. And they give me contribution. And they give me the machine hours required to produce each unit of this product, which is this. So if I do this divided by this, it gives me contribution per limiting factor. So which is what I came to summarize here anyways. So I get contribution per limiting factor, which I ranked. So as far as this guy is concerned, we can identify which products he needs to focus on first. And they give me sufficient data to see whether he's doing that, then I'll be able to make decisions and see whether he is operationally efficient. And remember, he told me that Supreme machine hours is 110,000 hours. His actual that he uses is 104,500 hours. Idle 5,500, downtime 3,200. So from here, I can do actual over this. That's how they got that 95%. If I take away these idle hours, this one is beyond their control. Okay, it doesn't really affect operational efficiencies as a result of demand. So if people don't come and buy, to come for servicing and all that, the machine will be vacant, so you will not do it, to be idle. However, when people were available, we could not attend to them because of downtime. And we experienced downtime of 3,200 hours. That's Supreme anyway. So Supreme effective hours is this. Just needed to note that down. For Autotech, there are some figures you might have to calculate based on what they gave me. They gave me that I can produce 12,000 units. It's actually producing this 85%. In case they don't give you this 85%, I've computed it here, which is the actual over installed capacity. Also, you need to do some labor efficiency analysis by looking at the actual labor hours times 10,200 will give me the total hours we take in producing all our cars. The standard, what we budgeted is this. So there is a variance of this. There's a variance of this, and it's adverse because you are spending more time. If I want to express it in percentage, is that adverse over the budget, over the standard, will give me this. So I'm expressing all these in hours. So you can also translate to money, but I was not given the standard rates, how much you pay per hour. If I was given, I would have multiplied the number of hours by the rates. That will give me the cost, the labor costs. Also, the people that rejected our cars, they give us a reject rate of 4.8%. given that we sell 10,200, so approximately 490 cars are rejected. So when they reject, we rework them using 15,600 hours. So we work per unit rejected. So we spend 31.8 hours per unit. We also spend 124 million for each unit rejected. So if I divide that by 490, it will give us cost per unit. And also, we can also determine the cost per hour, because since we spend 15,600 hours on rework, so Sean said this calculation alone can take 4 hours. No, it cannot. That's why I've done this for you. It might help you. If they come along these routes, you may not have to calculate all this. So we also did material variance for each materials. So they will give you the standard and the actual. So we are overusing materials times the total, what we sold. The actual units will tell you the total excess materials we are using for each component. For each component. For each component. So for the paint also, for each component. So we looked at all the adverse units, all the wastages. Then we looked at this one. They already give us this. So in another way, they give us the number of hours we spend on one unit, which is 32 hours. And I think we have done this already, showing that we are spending excessively on this. And we work spending 15,600 hours for the work, and the total hours it takes us to produce all the 10,200 units that we sell. So the proportion of that is attributable to the work is 4.78%, which is quite low. So that's that. Then I did a summary of Porter's 5 force, and what it looks at is that, see, what Porter's 5 force does for you is that it helps you understand your industry. It helps you understand your external environment, the industry in which you operate. So it's a model that you can use to understand that market, that industry. So since we want to buy two companies now, we can use Porter's 5 force to understand their industry. So we looked at Autotech. And these are the major items in this Porter's 5 force model. Number one is threat of new entry. We assessed it as medium, and that's because it's highly capital intensive, right? So it's not anybody that can say he wants to enter into local assembly industry. It's highly capital intensive and is highly regulated because you need to get approvals and all of that from the government. I got this information from the unseen. It's another element of this is bargaining power of suppliers. So these ones, I don't know, you need to cram it, this element of potash first because that's the those are the elements in the model. So based on the information given, you then know, okay, that bargaining power of supplier. Do supplier has high bargaining power? For these auto tech, yes, they have, because when you want to do local assembly in Nigeria, you import most of your components, and there are no few, there are very few local suppliers. That's even if you get. So you import. So their bargaining power is high. They dictate the pricing in that auto tech. Those are assembling vehicle in Nigeria for local assembly guys. And not only that, forex volatility also increases suppliers' leverage. So they know that though things have changed in Nigeria now, it's not that volatile anymore. It's highly stable. So that might not be an issue again for us. Another one is that Potas 5 looks at is the bargaining power of buyers, your customer. Are they powerful? Are they the one that determine the prices, or who determine the price for that? So for Autotech, we have corporate buyers and dealers, and they are very price sensitive. And because there are a lot of people, multiple importers or assemblers available, so buyers can negotiate. And if they don't have any, if their price, if the money they have is not enough to buy, they will go for another, or they will not even buy, just be looking. Another one is threat of substitutes. So for local assembly, if you assemble your car and it's too expensive, they can go and buy imported. They will just go. So threat to substitute is there. So it's medium. Rivalry among existing firms. Yes, there is Innocent that assembles Mandilas and all of that. So competition is there. That competition is there. So that's Potas 5 first. Then I did the same thing for Supreme. Again, you might not necessarily do this for your own case. And if time is by your side, you can just use this to jot out the key elements of the model. So that it's not in your analysis, you start thinking. You start thinking of which one. You will have, what this offers you is that you will have seen where the company falls in each of these, where the risk are. Like for Autotech now, I can see that if I want to, his external environment is highly competitive. His industry is competitive. Though it's not an industry that anybody can come in anyhow, but to get components is difficult. It's suppliers that determines the pricing. They have huge bargaining power. They know that you don't have local suppliers in your country, that you are dependent on them. Customer and their bargaining power is high as well, because cars are expensive. It's not something you just buy. So, and you know that I'm analyzing this, and I'm using this to analyze the complaints, not my company, the company I want to buy. Then threat substitute for is also there. Though, I mean, new vehicle is better than used, but it's there. It exists. They can go for foreign brands that are good, that are established. Some people say, it's not me to buy local assembly. I'll go and buy used Lexus or used Benz or used Toyota. That is still better. Something like that. So it's still there. And there is high competition. There are a lot of other people doing the same thing. The same thing for Supreme. This one, threat to new entry. Anybody can just go in. So the threat is not there at all. Anybody can start mechanic shop and start doing servicing. The threat is not there at all. Do you have bargaining power as a supplier? Bargaining power is there, but they can easily get local spare parts for their repairs. So import, so it's not that high, it's medium. The same thing for the buyers as well. It's also medium, even though yes, there are other places they can go to. So the buyers have bargaining power. They determine the pricing as well because there are a lot of players in that market. And threat of substitutes. Do you have any direct substitutes? Is very low because you need to repair. You cannot go and repair your car yourself. So you cannot say you don't want to repair. You have to. And rivalry, of course, there are a lot of competition. A lot. Not only that, for the two, you know that I'm doing these strategic models to analyze the two components. So I use SWOT. In the exam, don't use the two, use one. For you don't even have that time to be using two models. If it's Ansoff you want to use, you can use that to analyze. But just that Ansoff might not be suitable for you to do acquisition targets like this. You'll be using that to analyze the company itself, the company that you are advising. That okay, they want to do product development, market development, market penetration, and all that. But Porter's 5 Force is good. You can use it to analyze any company. Just for you to look at those 5 elements. Then SWOT also, look at Autotech. Its strengths and weaknesses are majorly internal. Its strength is looking at its GOC, its capacity utilization, its local assembly status, and all of that. Its weaknesses also is internal. Its dependence on supplier, its use of materials, the board, and all. Those are their weakness. Opportunity is external. So government incentive, partnership with OEM means original equipment manufacturers, like people that actually manufacture those spare parts, those components for knockdown vehicles or technology. Then going market share is over 10% for local assembly. Then threats, exchange rates, regulatory requirement for environment, competitions, those are threats. Then I did the same thing for Supreme. Is internal strength and weakness, opportunities and threats. Of course, shouldn't be able to have time to be doing all of this. I also did Pestel for you, just for you to have complete details for your revision. Then, and then went into my analysis and finding. You'll see I did financial performance analysis. That's 1.1. I did my profitability performance. My 1.2, I did liquidity and working capital analysis. My 1.3, I did efficiency and asset utilization. And 1.4, I did gearing and solvency. So, and all these that I did, I'll be going into my appendix to be looking at whether the company is improving, why is it improving, and all of that. And I'm analyzing 2 companies here. Then I did a sub-2 conclusion based on my analysis of the 2 companies. I went on to the operational and capacity analysis. I did Autotech first. When I looked at, okay, the 85% you can do, the adverse, efficiency hours and all of that, the rework. I made comments on all of that, the strategic implication and all that. And I gave a summary of my evaluation. I did the same thing for Supreme by looking at the contribution per limiting factor. Then I also then make some conclusions here. Then I did the strategic analysis where I spoke about Porter's 5 force, competitive rivalry. I spoke on it, that competition is high for this guy and all that, threats in new entrants, bargaining power of suppliers, bargaining powers of customers, and threats to substitute. I spoke on that. Might not necessarily do this, but since I gave you an appendix, that's why I'm speaking on SWOT as well. Then I did the same thing for Supreme Autos. Then eventually, I made a simple conclusion based on my analysis for the 2 companies. Then, on the basis of the above, I did a financial and strategic fit. Which one should they buy? That is what this one spoke about. Then, of course, I know that this one gives me 10 marks, so I don't want to joke with ethics and governance. I spoke on every ethical part that needs to be spoken of. Then I go to my recommendations and conclusions. So I recommended which one they should buy in the 2 companies, and I made conclusions. Then after that, I did my executive summary, which I said you can just start first. Not start first, you can leave 1 page, which is not necessary. You can just write it at the end, then introduction as well. So I've already done this report for you. Take your time and look at it. I won't be reading it for you again. I've looked through the appendix with you. So your exam is on Thursday, right? Anybody that sits on this, you should be able to finish it in 2 hours. At least go over it like twice. Use this as a guide for your exams. And I've given you 2 variations. So of course, certainly you would see something similar. It might not be the same figures, but the strategic direction is going to be this. That is what it will be. That one, I'm sure of that, because of the way the present was set off, the way they set the present. So for your case study, now you have something in front of you to focus on. If you can get this right, then it will not be difficult for you to do well in that case study. You would do well. That one is an assurance for you that if you take your time to read through, so it's already, this is almost 12 o'clock. So of course, the WhatsApp WhatsApp group is open for you to keep raising, discussing among yourself. Yeah, Michael. So even if it is different, you can tailor it to what you have here. Just narrow your mind around, which is why I gave you two variations. And this one is that you're looking at is even much more complex than the first one. So, and I touched on a lot. I put in a lot of things inside just for you to be in a safe space in the exam. So just go ahead and study. If you have anything that you need any materials you need, you have everything that you need, really. The only thing that you don't have is time, so limited. But the materials, you have it plenty. But you need to then maximize, you need to maximize your time in terms of, because there is a lot of materials to read. There's a lot of materials to read. So let's call it a day for today. Okay. Let's call it a day for today. Just remain positive, and I'm sure it will turn out fine for everyone. So I wish you guys all the best. Thank you very much. Let's continue our discussions on the group. See you guys later.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.